I guess that's me then. I scratch the back of my head and wander forward. I think I'm absolutely with that tea merchant idea, except I do have this surplus of rations, and if they're hungry, we should feed them, right?
I consider that for a moment, and then nod slowly.
Jack also gives a bit of a nod. It would definitely make them more pliable for information.
Yeah, and probably improve their lives a little bit. You said they were destitute, right? Nothing worse than starving, Cor says, walking back to his little cooking station.
I nod in solemn agreement. And then I turn to Evelyn and wait for her to talk.
You're gonna be waiting for a while.
She turns the page.
I continue waiting patiently.
She takes a sip of the tea.
In a private moment between brothers, Zach confesses to Jack that he kind of only wished 2 people passed his test. That maybe only him and maybe only the Spender brothers. It's a private moment.
After a little while, Evelyn will look at the 2 brothers and kind of like look around, her eyes widen. Oh, you're back.
Yes, we are.
Oh, okay. She takes her book and puts it away and runs up. So, what, is the plan?
Well, actually, Dumbhall was just waiting, just in anticipation to hear your idea, but let me give you a bit of a breakdown, I suppose.
Yes.
And, Zach gives, like, a patient, it's a kind smile, but there is definitely a hint of almost smugness. Like, he's like, okay, here's what's going on. I'm gonna catch you up to speed.
Oh, well, has it looked like the truck's moved at all recently?
Yes, actually, you would say that it looks like it's been there an hour or 2.
Is there any tire tracks we can look at?
Yeah, actually, it would have left tire tracks leading off from the south. So it came from the south, and now it's pointed towards due west.
Okay. Evelyn will think a moment. Well, the fastest way to figure out what's going on would be to go there and find out. If we want, I guess we could play it safe and try and follow where the truck came from. But I don't really...
Zach pipes up, I'm kind of a people person, and like Lucian said, they are destitute. It wouldn't hurt to feed them.
I raise a hand.
You can just speak up. We're team members, Domino.
Oh, my apologies. With a truck like you've described, my assumption would be that they are openly hostile. Am I correct in that?
Jack, did you see any open hostilities?
No.
Yeah, neither did I. Although you're right, you don't have that many weapons if you're not planning to use them.
Right. It means they're either afraid of something, or they are looking to protect what they have. In that case, I would like to suggest that, in addition, I do like the idea of sending in people to... whatever that word you used was. Smooth over relations? I cannot remember how you said it. I do think that it would be a good idea to send some of us in to talk with the townspeople. However, I think it would also be wise if some of us remained behind just in case things got heated.
Yeah, a reserve in case we get captured or...
Correct.
Yeah, it's a good tactical idea.
In that case, if, for those that are going ahead, I specialize in close-range combat, so I would like to volunteer myself for one of those that go into the town.
Mm-hmm. I have a way with words, and some of my more unique abilities can make sure I can persuade people, or make them forget certain things. I wouldn't mind going into the village myself.
You're going to bribe them? With money?
Bribe them?
Well, you said that... I have some money that I'd be willing to volunteer to the cause.
Well, we don't know if they're going to take the same currency. We're 200 years in the past.
We got fish and food, the universal currency. And tea, yes.
Invaluable gems.
What?
He pulls out a handful of coarse, shiny jewels and golds and silvers from his pocket.
Of course, John.
Zach will blink and say, "And gems and gold."
Yeah, Dom is shocked into silence. Completely unsure what to say.
Oh my god.
Oh, shit.
We have to, after like a moment of, I'm assuming, stunned silence, Zach will say, well, maybe we don't want to flaunt that. We might be robbed as much as we are appreciated.
Solemn-faced, he puts his precious gems and materials back into his pouch.
Who just has a handful of gems? Cor rubs his head.
So, but to your earlier question, Dom, special abilities more than just money. I am an accomplished psychic, too.
Oh, I did not know. I believe I should congratulate you to now at this point in time. So, congratulations for being a psychic.
It's, you know what, it's Zach's turn to raise one eyebrow. So, Domhnall, myself, volunteered to go in. Who else would like? What else do you guys think?
I'm going.
I can stay at the ATV and come pick you up if you need to get out, I guess. I'm not really good at talking to people. And I'm not really good at, she, like, pushes her fists in the air like she's punching, but it's very weak. Not really good at that either.
Yeah, not gonna win any single punch, Xavier contests or anything like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You enter the tavern. Your first sight is it is dusty everywhere, which in this kind of environment, it does seem like it would be hard to keep things free of dust. Everyone seems kind of huddled over their table or their drinks. The things of note that you notice is behind the bar and the bartender, there is a large screen. It's one of the only pieces of technology you've seen since you've entered the building. At the bar, there are 4 oddly dressed men. They wear what looks like a cross between uniforms and tribal dress. On their heads, they wear different colored feathers. They all wear goggles, and they all have very pale painted skin. The only other one of note is in the back corner, kind of leaning back and drinking his own thing, is a person who looks small of stature, has a goatee, is dressed in black leather, and his eyes follow you as you enter the room.
I'm going to clear my throat and motion to one of the tables.
I nod and follow his hand and take a seat. I stare at Charlotte.
Yeah, Charlotte actually looks at the table, looks at you guys, looks at there's no seats.
I will get up, offer the seat to her.
Charlotte will very ladylike say thank you and take a seat.
Excuse me, ma'am.
She looks up and she says, "What? Oh, yes. Hello?"
May I borrow this seat?
She nods. She looks very distracted, and you notice that she has tear-streaked cheeks. She says, of course.
Are you okay?
I'm fine," she says very quietly.
Jack will just nod.
She goes, "Just the calling, you know. Mine was 6.
Sorry for your loss.
She nods. At that moment, when you sit down, the bartender comes up to the table where you guys are and says, "New in town?"
Yeah, we are. Heard there was a
see.
bit of trade going on in here. Figured we'd see if we struck lucky.
The bartender, who seems to be chewing on some bit of dried weed, looks at you and says, "Trade? Hasn't been trade here in a long time."
We're not looking for objects, Zach says. We're looking for information, and that everyone has.
He looks nervously at the 4 guys at the bar and says, "That is true. How about I start you with drinks?"
All right. What do you take as far as payment goes?
Well, we normally take water, food, or gasoline if you have any, though that's rare enough these days.
Lucien slides something out of his coat. It is a standard issue ration that has been, any markings that would discern it as anything that would be related to the Corsairs has been removed, and it's been stuffed sort of ungraciously into a paper bag.
He opens the paper bag and takes out a bit of the ration and bites at it. Almost like it gives the impression of someone biting on a gold piece. And he munches on it a bit and goes, just a moment. And he goes back to the bar, and then he comes back with 5 cups of what looks like dirty water, but it smells like alcohol.
Cheers!
I stare at mine and don't drink it.
I am already deep in my cups.
Charlotte accepts your offer, placing down what seems to already be an empty cup. Everyone seems very quiet, except for the 4 at the bar, and they're very loud and slapping each other on the back and talking about how it's going to be a good run and how much of an honor it is to be chosen for this. And then one of them goes, shh, Maneater's on. And everyone in the room grows quiet again. Well, the room goes even more quiet than if it could have been before. And on the screen behind the bartender, an image appears. And that image is of a woman who looks very familiar. And she looks as if she's staring directly out of the screen and says,
"Hello, my subjects. It has been too long. I, Maneater, that which gives you water, greet you again."
And the 4 at the bar stand up and put their fists to their chest and are completely motionless and silent. And then Maneater continues,
"This month's calling was rather successful. I understand that it is hard on all of you, sacrificing your children as you do, but it is necessary to keep the water flowing. I am grateful that you all pay homage."
And you see around her, behind her, children are being led away and to the back of a room. And she says,
"It is only fair that you understand and see what must be done."
and she turns around and goes to the little children. They're about 6, 7, 8, some 4, 1. She slowly begins to pull out a knife and then goes to the first child and slits its throat. And something happens. Those of you who are psychic or mystical, you're well aware that when a person dies, their ISP and PPE jump incredibly. And as she does this to each child, an amulet around her neck glows. And it's almost unmistakable for those of you familiar with it that this is some sort of battery or collection device. After the process is done, and you notice that many people in the bar don't look, they look away, she comes back and she says,
"The water will flow for another month. Until then."
And then the screen shuts off.
Soon after that, Zach is going to look to Jack in the eyes, to Domhnall, to Lucien, even to Charlotte, and he'll say lowly, "I'm thinking we don't try to take this one in alive."
Lucien Stony-faced, slowly nods. You notice multiple cracks running through his glass. He continues to nod quietly.
I scratch my head and turn to the group and say, I don't understand what she's doing. She's going to run out of children rather quickly.
Lucian slowly shakes his head. I'll explain it to you later.
I frown and stare at the game pieces on the table. I still don't understand what her long-term goals are. If she's focused on children, well, I look around the tavern. There cannot be many left in this village. And I lower my voice, suddenly realizing perhaps I should be a bit more discreet.
Core nods.
How long do you think she will remain here?
I don't know. There probably is a link between that and this time displacement.
You all also hear slight sobbing from the table next to you, the table that Jack sat at for a moment. And about this time, the bartender comes back over and says, and he's got kind of an unsteady voice. He says, "Your drinks doing you okay?"
Yeah, as good as they can. So, tell us something. Hazarding a guess. Those 4 loud boars at the bar, they're man-eaters? Men?
He nods and then nods over to the gentleman in the back corner. They're part of the war rig. It's that behemoth out front. Maneater sends it to get more gasoline from, well, everyone. You obviously are new around here. It's very unsettling the first time you see it. And then he adds quietly, it's very unsettling the 10th time you see it too. I think actually, Zach, since you're kind of facing him, would notice the guy in the far corner is motioning for you guys to come over.
Looks like we definitely got the attention of one of them. Either all of us can join him or one of us can. I'm fine with talking with him. I understand. I can feel the vibe. Oh, and there goes Jack. Okay. See, and Zach will get up and he'll give a bit of a shrug. As you can tell, one of the Spender brothers is the talker and one of them is the doer. And he's gonna head on.
I turn to Cor and I say, I think that means we should follow.
Cora exhales deeply. I need some air. He wanders outside.
Charlotte stays there staring into her cup.
I give her my cup before I go over to the Spender brothers.
She actually doesn't acknowledge it. When you sit down, he says,
"You're new. I could tell the moment you walked in. More than that, you look like fighters to me."
Oh, we're not fighters, Zach says. We're killers.
Interesting. Couldn't help but notice the way you were looking at Maneater. I mean, Mistress Maneater over there. Friend of yours?
No, not at all. She's just someone who has a lot of power that, killed kids on TV. It tends to get someone's attention.
He nods and says, "It's a good way to keep people in line. So, what's your interest in her?"
Why do you care?
He looks around and says, "A lot of people would like to meet her. A lot of people would give a lot to meet her. Now, I might be able to do something about that for you."
And why would you do that?
I am the head of her war rig. We gather gasoline from the outside settlements. We're in a very dangerous area. We were attacked a few days ago. He points to the strangely dressed men at the bar and says, "They're the only ones that made it back out alive. A rather incompetent bunch, if you ask me. I rather don't like my chances of making it back to Maneater with the gasoline. Alive, at least, with them in tow. You, however, as I said, you look like fighters. Now, the guards of her war rig, well, they'd earn quite a bit of rep. Maybe even enough rep to earn an audience with, the big lady herself."
Okay, I see. So, As a part of the war rig, we would, do what you wanted, right? Round up people, take stuff, that sort of thing.
Gasoline only.
Gasoline only?
This time.
You lose some guys?
He nods. It's a dangerous world out there.
Yeah, real dangerous. Well, we'll think about it. We kind of got our own operation going, but, work is work. You gonna be around here for a little while longer?
He nods and says, I could also make it worth your while in gasoline. Just one catch, he says. That war rig isn't big enough for you and them, he says, nodding his head over to the strangely dressed men.
Well, we'll let you know.
He nods and then starts drinking again, as if you guys were never talking.
Cool. Zach is looking over to Jack in Dome Hall and kind of gives a bit of a shrug, see if they want to say anything else, but...
So if I understand correctly, they wouldn't leave quietly if we asked them, so you want us to kill them.
He chokes on his drink. He puts the mug down and says, Look, I don't care how you get rid of them. Just get rid of them.
I turn to Zach and Jack and pause for a moment before posing the question, would that be against the rules?
Zach will give a bit of a smile, and he'll look to Domhnall and, pray and pray and pray he picks this up. And he says, nah, the bosses won't care. They'll understand.
I blink for a moment. Whether or not Dom got it is unclear, but he hasn't said anything. He's lost in consideration, staring at the candles on the table.
Well, I guess you'll see our decision soon enough.
Blooms in a way that's hard to describe. The center of the gate fills with light, and through the center of the light you see space with stars and gas giants behind it. And then you travel.
I think a cat just flew by.
Space cat!
Is it Schrodinger's cat? Are we both here and not here at the same time?
The temporal gate opens to Mrs. Mittens,